Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day or night it is that you're joining us. We wish you the best of it. I'm Grant Lamontang from multitool.org, and this is EDC TV. With me tonight are my good buddies Abe Elias from Diving Sparrow Knife Works. How are you tonight, Abe?
Good. And yourself?
I'm doing okay. And this is my other buddy, Daryl. Inky Chris, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, and I really don't care how you're doing. So let's stop the BS and let's get on with this.
So tonight, as usual, we have a topic which we may or may not actually get to at some point. Abe, what cool new stuff have you gotten this week that you'd like to share with us?
Really, I haven't had a chance to. It's been kind of busy last couple of weeks. So thank goodness I haven't had a chance to open up the browser and shop very much. So that means I might actually have some money to pay my rent this month. God knows I'm not lacking on groceries. So it's the rent I'm most concerned about. But to be honest with you, I really haven't gotten anything new. I have probably next week. I'm going to give an update on a lot of stuff I've been carrying that I've introduced on the show before.
I think that just before we went on air there, you were showing us something new that you had.
Well, yeah, that's not new. I was thinking when you said new, I'm thinking new.
It's new to you. That's all we're interested in.
So I got this. I got an old Benchmade Emerson. Yeah, no, I traded for this. So the guy was a bushcrafter, and he would very rarely use this Emerson Benchmade. And I said, well, in case I'll trade you one of my bushcraft knives. So I traded one of my bushcraft knives, and I was carrying it today, actually, when I was going around doing my handyman job. So that's mine. That's what I got this week, but it's new to me.
That is pretty cool. I like that. That's back when, knife design, I don't know. I don't want to say took some effort, but, you could really see the artistry in a blade like that.
They're clean. I find the Emerson knives are really clean. In the essence of the handles aren't convoluted. It's just a good, solid user. Not really fond of the chisel ground we were talking about before we got on air, but it's a good knife. It's solid. This is a beast.
Yeah, to quote somebody from the old knife forums days, I really like chisel grind on my chisels. I think was that Brian Edgington that said that?
My gosh, I forgot all about it. How did I forget about him? My gosh.
Holy Brian, if you're out there and you're still kicking, drop us a note sometime. We'd love to hear from you.
I'd love to talk to that guy.
Yeah, leave it to a guy with the last amazing guy to talk about the Edge.
I don't know if he's still kicking, but he had to be 140, and that's got to be 20 some odd years ago. So
yeah.
Anyways, Brian, if you are out there, please drop one of us a note at edctv@multitool.org. I would absolutely love to hear from you.
Oh my gosh!
So on that note, Inky, what cool new stuff have you got for us this week?
I really didn't for the first time. I've been trying to do a little shopping, so I was paying attention to that. Trying to do a trade. I made a couple of sheets though. I'm trying to do that. And once in a while I play with that a little bit. Old US trade 152. That's what I made out of a belt. My neighbor's walking around holding his pants up, but that's his problem. He don't need his belt. There was a guy on the train in New York, right? He was standing there, the express train came by, and he was a little too close to the end of the platform, and it nicked his ass. And it took a little piece of his ass off. The guy was like missing a little chunk of his ass, like a little bigger than a BB. So then he's looking on the track for it, the idiot. I'm like, bro, it's gone. Another express train came by and killed him, hit him in the head. You know what the moral of the story is, right? Never lose your head over a piece of ass.
We have some viewer questions. Oddly enough, appears that some people have actually decided to check out this show, and I thought it might be fun to look at a couple of them. What do you guys think? You up for that? So, some questions here. Let's see. I made a list. If you had to downsize your carry to just 3 items, what makes the cut?
What makes the cut?
I already have 3 items. That's bare minimum. I don't leave the house without.
Okay, so feel free to tell us what they are.
Inky spoke first, so I did want to be polite.
I'll do it if you want. Except for my, your wallet, your keys, stuff like that, right?
Sure.
So I always have at least
included.
Let's go with a pocket knife, a regular pocket knife, a flashlight, and my nipple clamps, of course.
And so which pocket knife and which flashlight would you opt for?
A flashlight that I would always have, like, no matter what, would be, was it an I3E or 13E?
That's the O-light, sorry.
Not this one.
Yeah, the tiny little keychain one.
This is a 13T, so it's a a 13E, I think. And a knife, a folder, whatever you see me messing with, or sometimes I'll carry a Sabenza or something like that if I feel cool. And the other thing I always have, but in my truck, I always have a Swiss Army knife, at least a classic. And, that's really the only definite 3 things I would carry. I usually have a little bit more than that. But yeah, that's really my main 3 things I'd have to have. I'm very boring.
I guess that's your turn, Abe.
Okay. So if I should have asked beforehand, if we're going to exclude like things like keys, wallet, and your phone, the 3 that I always never leave the house without is a flashlight, a knife of some sort, and a lighter. I always have something to create fire with me. It's always like usually nowadays I go with the high tech lighters and I don't even use fuel anymore. I used to carry a Zippo, but now I carry like butane or my recent one, which I showed you guys, which was electrical, an arc lighter.
Yeah, those are nice. They're cool.
So
yeah,
those 3
I've been carrying those for years.
Yeah, those 3 things. And they wrote, and I can't say these are the 3 things. Like if you said I couldn't switch knives anymore, then yeah, I could give you 3 things, but otherwise I'll rotate the lighter, I'll rotate the light, and I'll rotate the knife. You got to answer them too.
Yeah.
We're all in
Well,
this together.
for me,
All right, time's up. Next question.
carrying 3 items is expanding my EDC in a lot of cases. I generally tend to keep a lot of stuff in my truck in something like this. This is my Maxpedition pouch, which, usually I've got a flashlight and a lighter, a Swiss Army knife, utility knife. I've got a little old
1,
knife
2, 3,
screwdriver
4,
there,
5,
an
6,
O
7,
pen.
more than 3.
It's 4 on one side and 3 on the other. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I carry in my truck. But as for carrying on myself, it's usually just a straight up folder or a Swiss Army knife. Lately, it's been this guy here, the Synergy X. A lot of that is, either whatever I happen to grab on the way out the door or whatever I happen to be testing that week to do a review on. So
I grabbed one of those.
what the
Single blade. Yeah, I like it. I got the dark blue.
yeah, the dark blue was really nice, but I'm not sold on these cutouts yet. What do you think of those?
I didn't carry it yet, but I just, how I am with Victorinox, man.
Oh,
I had to stop buying them for years.
Yeah.
So I used to spend my money on Victorinoxes.
My thing is, it looks like a perfect place for shit to.
I think it's definitely going to collect some shit.
Yeah.
I think I asked somebody, dust. I mean, if you keep it blowed out or, whatever, you could keep a can of air once in a while.
That's exactly what I thought too. And yeah, it does. But I tell you, I've been carrying Alox knives for years. And I tell you, getting used to that lock mechanism.
I don't like it.
It's,
And
I'm so used to
lefty.
carrying an Alox that doesn't lock to have one with a lock. I realize it's superior. I know I'm going to get people writing in going, locking knife is better. And you're absolutely right. It is. When you're used to driving exactly the same car every day and then suddenly somebody puts the steering wheel in the trunk, it's weird. It's the same car, there's no difference, but there's one little difference that just messes with you.
Yeah. So you got your mic handy, if you don't mind. Open and close it a couple times near your mic, because I heard that locking. It sounds like it's crisp. It's nice.
It's also a slip joint. That's what you're hearing. That's the back spring you're hearing.
Yeah, it's still got that heavy Victorinox back spring. It just actually also adds a liner lock.
But the liner lock goes opposite. It doesn't pop out. You gotta pull it the other way, and you got a chance of getting your finger. I'm lefty, and I don't like it.
That's the thing you got to remember. Victorinox always does a left-handed liner lock.
Yeah,
I'm used to using my knives righty.
If you listen to the soundtrack afterwards, you can actually hear the secondary click from the liner popping over.
Oh, I'm sure.
Probably.
Unfortunately, what's going to happen is the software that we use will automatically edit this out.
Yeah, see? You hear the spring and then
I can hear a little tink.
Yeah.
There's a slight tink with it.
Yeah. Now, I really liked about what model was it where you pressed on the shield and it pushed the liner over for you?
I thought that was Ranger series.
Yeah, I love that. That was great. Your hand's not even anywhere near when the liner comes off and you break the blade.
I think I have one of those
the
left.
Delamont series like that.
Yeah.
Which is just
I think I got the single blade.
You press the shield here. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but the liner lock disengages.
Yeah. I really liked that idea. That was clever. I thought that was a cool idea.
Well, that was Wenger for you. They had some really, really great ideas, and they got shut down anyway.
Well, they didn't have the long running reputation. You ask everybody Swiss Army knives, what do they remember? I remember trying to get a guy to sell me one of the old rotating display cases, and that you saw that every time you went to the hardware store. I remember first time I saw it gone, I said, "Hey, can I buy that off you?" And he said, "If I remember to dig it out, I will get it for you."
Yeah, they didn't have the market in North America that Victorinox did, and that made all the difference, I think. I think that the Wengers were, in a lot of ways, vastly superior knives. But
Yeah.
if you wanna know literally anything about Swiss Army knives, make sure to check out sackwiki.com. That's SAKWIKI.com, and it is one of the sponsors of EDC TV. Check it out. There's facts and
Awesome.
figures of pretty much every Swiss Army knife ever made.
And that's I'm not just saying that, it's super convenient because I'm a knife person, but for over 23 years I've had to cover so many knife companies. I don't have the specialty and stuff, so sometimes you have to rely on a resource. So if I'm not talking to Grant or Inky over here, I can't remember I could go through my collection, or somebody's asking me where do we go? If we can, we go to SacWiki, so we can figure out what the frick we're holding their hand, because the difference can be, as everybody knows, the difference can be one layer and one tool or the back of the knife, and so that's the easiest way to figure it out. A lot of times, is go there.
Yeah, it really is. So just one more thing about this. I don't actually miss the can opener because I'm not really sure when the last time I used a Swiss Army knife can opener was. I'm really, really loving this modified can opener that they now call a box opener.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, we're all opening more boxes now. We're all buying more stuff off Amazon and things like that. You know, back in the day, you used to rarely get packages and it wasn't a thing, but now everything's delivered to your house. You know, having a dedicated box opener so you're not dulling your main blade is it's a fantastic addition. And I'm really glad that Victorinox came out with that.
Yeah, and the angle of the thing that I have personal experience with, so I don't know if I mentioned this before. I had a civilian and I had to open up a really expensive patio awning at Lee Valley one time. And I pulled that civilian out and I sunk that tip in there and I went zip and I sliced one of the panels of that awning right in half. So that tip in there that's as soon as I noticed that, that's probably one of the safest ways to make sure that you're not going to cut open
You
what
know, you
you
remind me of
What's
every
that?
time I send out a box that has something like, actually anything that's close to the top, I put a big note: do not cut into box while opening. Sometimes if it's expensive, I write it all around the box and everywhere, so
Oh,
they definitely see it. I hope they do. Ding, ding, ding,
yeah, well,
ding.
my manager was not too happy.
No, definitely
Yeah.
not.
She was
No,
not
I
too,
imagine not.
but that civilian was damn sharp. I was proud. I
Best
just couldn't say it. I could glow. I had that proud
inner glow.
like glow about me, but I
I
had to
like this
shut my
one. Very
mouth.
good.
And I'm pretty sure that's one of those things that we've all done at one point or another accidentally. A little bit of accidental over penetration.
Yes, and I know someone that actually was injured from that.
So, the next question: which knife or multi-tool surprised you the most once you actually used it in the real world?
Me, I'd say the Victorinox Swiss tool.
Swiss.
Yeah, I like this. It's very strong and yummy, yummy.
Now
Heavy
you're
though.
talking the full-size Swiss tool and not the Spirit,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, not the Spirit.
Yeah. Although I gotta say, I really like the ergonomics on the Spirit too. That is just
Yeah.
fantastic.
I got this. The
Yeah.
equivalent of a NBA, not NBA. Yes,
MLB,
NBA.
Major League
Yeah, that
Baseball.
guy.
Is that what you're
Yeah,
trying to do?
I was
Catcher's
gonna
mitts?
say Mario Lama Balama, but okay. If you want to go with Major League Baseball, it's okay. Or change the name of it. Go ahead.
What about you,
Yes,
Abe?
like a baseball mitt, yeah.
I wouldn't say. I mean, everyone's kind of not really surprised me, but like for instance, when we're talking about the Swiss tools, they're comfortable, but they got more of a compared to other ones, they got more of a solid feel to them.
Right.
Right? Like you're holding
Yeah.
it. So I'm not really surprised. I gotta say, I can't recall anything that was like, oh my God, this is incredible, because I've always found that they've just done their job. Now, disappointed is a different adjective. But that's not the question.
Well, it said surprised. Surprises can be good and they can be bad. So
Yeah. Like for instance, just recently the pint, it's a small tool, the power pint by SOG. It's a small
Right.
tool. I don't expect it to do heavy duty work, but I've stopped carrying it because the pivot points on it are so loose that while I have it pocket clipped in my pocket, it just the whole tool opens right up. So
That's how
I'm thinking, so if you want to say surprise, I would be surprised that somebody didn't catch that in R&D, or if they do any beta testing on it. It's not to pick on SOG. It's like I said, there's a lot of companies that have different things that don't exactly work out well. And that was, to me, if I wanted a lightweight tool, a lightweight pliers, rather than say like a Wave or God knows a Surge, or even some of the Swiss Army tools or any of the Gerbers. Like I've been this last year, I've been using the Dual Force from Gerber quite a bit. It was substantially lighter, substantially less space, and if it just held itself together without opening up in my pocket, I would carry that, no problem. But it doesn't.
Well, it's interesting that you say that about SOG with their beta testing, and I'm pretty sure that Spencer Fraser is not listening here, so it's probably a safe bet for me to say this. But that's always kind of been SOG's problem. They've always been well thought out, but not completely thought out.
Tweaked, not tweaked.
They're brilliant designs, but there's always been something lacking, and
They're not polished.
I sort of always felt that the R&D department that actually tests some of Spencer's designs, I feel like their bonuses were attached to how many products they gave a thumbs up to. And I mean, everything SOG did back in the day anyway was just fantastic. It was always bulletproof, but there was always something wrong with all of them. You look at the original Power Lock, and great tool. The compound leverage was fantastic, but you had those gear handles that dug into your hand when you tried to use the screwdriver. And then it had it was just a big honking handle of a tool with very, very stubby implements. And the compound leverage was great, except, you needed hands that, you could palm a basketball, because the way the compound leverage is it puts twice as much pressure on the head as you're exerting on the handles. But in order to do that, you trade distance for pressure. That means that the handles had to move twice as far in order to put twice as much pressure on the head. And since I don't have the ability to palm a basketball, my SOGs were always of somewhat limited use, because the bigger the nut went, the nut increases by 5%, and now you've got 10% wider handles. I really liked them, but there was always just those. They were thought out, but just didn't quite cross the finish line, in my opinion. Other than that, though, I love the old SOG stuff. The new stuff, I don't know.
I'll tell you, after over a number of years of reviewing, that tends to be a really common story. Like, I mean, if we're talking about SOG, they're not alone in this. So, like, I'd be reviewing something, especially with the popularity of bushcraft when it came out. And it'd be like, this is a nice blade design. You've made a nice machete here, or you've made a knife, kind of survival knife here, or a hatchet. And then all of a sudden it's like, but why the hell did you hollow grind it? This is woodworking. Like,
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you're going to chop with this. The edge is going to cut. It's going to be sharp, but it's not going to take any sideways torsion. You're going to mess that edge up. And so, I mean, and I'm, like I said, not to sound negative, a lot of people nailed it, but then there'd be like, okay, the grip wasn't right. Or sometimes there's it was more often that you'd always find like one little thing where they just did, like I called it tweaking earlier when you were talking about it. They got a great design, and there was something that just needed, if they had found somebody who knew what they were doing, or in that
just
area,
failed
like
on the details. Yeah,
and handed it to them, they would have come back and said, just this little thing, you need to go here, and then it'd be 100%. Yeah, and that was just not SOG. It was like, I remember Meyerco. So I'm at a show.
Yeah, but there's an awful lot of carryover between Meyerco and SOG. I mean, Spencer Fraser and Blackie Collins were good buddies, and that's how we ended up with, certain SOGs like the Paratool, which also was a really cool idea, but sideways folding pliers. I mean, there's situations where that's handy, but not that many,
But like I was gonna say, like Meyerco, one time they came out with like a survival knife, right? And I was looking at it, and I asked Rose, I forget his last name was Rose, what his first name was. And I said to him, why is it hollow ground? And so, and no disrespect to anybody, it was a question. And then he said, good question. Why don't you ask Blackie? He designed it. And I went to Blackie and I said, Blackie, why is this hollow ground? Usually don't use hollow ground. And I was shocked. He says, I don't know how to flat ground. And
that is exactly the answer I would expect from Blackie Collins.
Yeah. And no, it's cool. And I'm not making fun of him, because there was like one of the guys that one of my best teachers, which was local, was a guy named Jeff Diot. And everybody always talked about Bob Dozier being an incredible hollow grinder. Mm-hmm. And probably the least recognized, one of the best freehand hollow grinders that I've ever known was Jeff Diot. This guy, his hollow grinds were impeccable. People often, like, I don't hollow grind that often, but I Scandinavian grind and I flat grind.
Yeah, but coming from Blackie Collins, if you knew the man, and I didn't know him as well as I would have liked, but he was exactly the kind of guy that would say, I don't know how to do that. when really he was just pulling your leg on that. You know, he probably did 6 of them that morning.
No, he was like, I knew him really well. He literally told me, he says he's not a flat grinder.
Okay.
He was not a flat grinder.
I'm just saying that what I know of the man, you never really knew if he was pulling your leg or serious
No,
with
he
something
was,
like that.
well, actually, I don't know if there's, because we've been doing this for a bit now. So at one point in time, Blackie Collins came up to me with his wife, Diane, and he said, he was talking to me about doing an article on him. The idea that, because he was getting late in his years and there's a legacy there. And I said, Blackie, I have no interest in doing an article on you. I said, somebody like you needs a book. And so I started becoming his biographer. And so he was sending me stories about how he developed assisted opening knives and stuff like that, and things that happened in his life that we were throwing into the book. And then I received the word that he was killed in that motorcycle accident. That was devastating.
Can you believe that? After all that, a motorcycle accident?
Oh yeah, and I remember one of the stories he told me about was motorcycle riding. He had dumped his Ducati and he was wearing a Glock on his side, and it got scratched up and banged up. And then he went to sell it. Some guy bought it from him, and the guy told him he bought it from him, even though it was in poor shape, specifically because it was owned by him.
Yep. Yeah, the man was a celebrity.
Yeah, but he was.
You'd never know it because he would just, he would say or do anything just to, get a laugh out of everybody around him. But yeah, he was a great guy. I liked him a lot.
His wife liked one of my Japanese daggers so much she tossed around the idea of buying it for a little bit. And what I probably should have done was, because didn't know that I'd start to get to know the guys better, I should have given her a really good price on it. I didn't. So anyways, another question there.
So this one I think is probably aimed at you, Abe. What is the weirdest or most unexpected item someone has sent you to review?
I can't say I can say unexpected, not weird. So early on it was my acquaintance when I first started writing. What guys would do is you call up and say, look, I need to review this knife. Can I receive a sample to kick the shit out of it? And you wouldn't say it that way. You said it politely. And then a lot of guys, because they were trying to solidify their spot as the PR person for their knife company, would send you something else with it. And it was like, I got them. Nobody I'm naming in particular. I get on the email with them and go, look, I didn't ask for this. I'm not going to review it. I know you're probably hoping that I will review it. And so I sent it back. I would send it back. Say, sorry, no, this is not happening. I appreciate it, because it's a little subtle pushiness. If I get it into his hands, maybe I'll get some ink on this. And it did happen often, but yeah, that would be the unexpected. All of a sudden you open the package, it's like, I didn't ask for this knife. And so you got to set a message right off the bat. You have to say, you cannot pressure me into doing a review for you because you just sent me a really nice knife to review.
Have you got anything to add to that question there, Inky? Have you ever been sent anything really weird or unexpected to write a review on?
Sure.
Columbia River a while ago, 07, I think it was, the summer of 07, sent me the was the Zillitul?
Well, yeah, I love
and the Guppy.
Wow, both. I love them both.
I said, yeah, send me something to review. They said, all right. And it was weird. I used to use I only lived there for the summer. I was in Charlotte for this one summer, and I used to go in through the driveway door. And I just came back from meeting Hossam. Was that his name?
Jerry
Yeah,
Hossam?
Jerry
Photographer? Yeah.
Awesome Possum. Jerry
Oh,
Hossam.
no, the photographer. That would have been
I was
Tara
with him
Hoffman.
all day.
Tara Hoffman, yeah.
Tara Hoffman, right. I was with him all day. I came home at night. I parked in the driveway. I said, man, and I went out to the front door, opened it. There was a package. I just, my radar, man, it knows when there's something around. I went right back to the front door, opened it, and it was in like a manila envelope, bubble wrap. And it was 2 things they sent UPS. It was the Guppy and the Zillitul. I was on it.
So when you saw Hoffman, was he using a cane?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because do you guys know the story about the Tops tomahawk cane? Hoffman had his knee surgery and he wasn't recovering quickly. So in a collaboration with Tops, he invented a cane where the top handle had a nice leather sheath on it, and it was a small tomahawk.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys I've got one, and it's the worst part of my collection because it's so freaking big. I can't put it in a tote.
I don't know. I don't remember. I remember him having an abundance of harpoons around.
Yeah, the
Oh, the
harpoons.
Hoffman harpoon. Yeah.
Yeah, different, whatever.
Yeah,
I
no, he
wasn't
was
really that interested in it then,
Yeah, I got to say, I like Terrell Hoffman, but that Hoffman harpoon was never really, never appealed to me all that much.
Yeah, it was. Although the year that we went to practice with the preach, and they had made a couple prototypes of it, everybody just went nuts for it. I'm just saying that's usually at that point in time you knew they were going to have a contract with Tops or somebody.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's understandable.
That was Tops, right? Or was it
Yeah.
someone else?
No,
The
it was
Hoffman harpoon?
Tops.
Yeah, it was hot. It was Tops.
Did he go with someone afterwards?
There's a lot of guys there that they. I'll tell you, when you go to the Blade show with some of these with some of these legends, there's a lot of storytelling and there's a lot of fuel being doused down the hatch that feeds those stories.
You'd be surprised what they'll tell you.
Only
You know what I mean? Once they know who you are and all that, they'll tell you stuff. You're like, I don't want to know. Like sometimes I'm like, no more. I don't want to know this stuff. I feel like
Just
I'm
before we go any farther, are these all stories that I'm going to be able to publish, or is there anything that I need to be cutting
we're not.
out
We're
in the
not telling
editing
the
room?
stories. We're not telling the stories. Trust me.
Yeah, just
But I'll tell you, I'm with Inky on this one. There's been times where I'm sitting with some guys,
you're like,
some
holy crap,
pretty
man.
famous knife makers, and they're telling me shit. And some of the worst ones was in the early days of Blade. The space they took up was like a small room,
Mhm.
and they were the top makers. And the shit they would do to each other as jokes was absolutely. I was like, Jesus Christ, you guys call each other's friends to this day after you did that? Like, oh God, what's his name? He's a famous blacksmith, and he got himself the title of, just to piss the rest of them off, he got him some title like American Legacy or American Heritage Legacy. He applied for it and he got it, and it's I wish I could remember his name right now, but and that he did that not for any other reason that he wanted to walk into the room and piss the rest of the knife makers off.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty petty sometimes.
Yeah, like they'll tell you something and you'll be like, I might be the only person that knows this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if someone else finds out, they're gonna think it's me. Like,
Well,
yeah, I've heard stuff like that. I'm like, I just want some knives.
Well, when we're done, I'll tell you a couple. I'll tell you a couple where I was drinking with the person, and when they were done the story, I was completely fucking sober. I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! All the alcohol in my system went. I can't top that. I'm just gonna sober up right now, and you're good. You're good. You can be. That share, don't scare. Yeah, sometimes I got shared and scared to the point where I had wasted at least $50 worth of alcohol at that point.
So you like scared straight in your own program.
Yeah. Oh my
When you were
God.
in jail, you're scared straight.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And here's what was our topic today?
We had a topic,
Rumors
but
and why we wear them.
The
judging by
questions.
the time, I don't think we're going to get to it.
Well, the questions. I think to be honest with you, I'm not going to take blame for this one. You're the one who brought in the questions. I don't want to hear you freaking whining. You guys never stay on topic. You brought.
I don't
in the
know how I
questions.
got to Crawford either. That's kind of my fault.
I don't know that I even mentioned what the topic was. So let's just keep going with
What
some
was the
questions
topic?
here.
Questions. We got questions. We got more questions.
Oh, okay.
And now watch. Next episode, we'll get questions like, "What are some of the stories you were told?" I was like, "No."
Probably, yeah. If you could design your own signature EDC item, what would it be, and what problem would it solve?
Inky, take this one.
Mine would just be a knife, of course, and it would just be ergonomically perfect for me. That won't
So,
solve
like,
a problem.
just a
It
custom
would
then.
just, be lightweight, light, long blade, lightest weight, nothing really fancy and nothing fancy.
Nothing fancy. Definitely not
No.
fancy.
It'd be proper everything for me. That's all. I really don't, I wouldn't put a flashlight on it.
I have one of those. I have a
Sorry.
couple of knives with flashlights. One of them is just this no-name brand, and it looks kind of like a Mora, but with like a big fat round handle. Because believe it or not, this thing actually takes D cells.
Jesus.
A D cell, yeah. So it's huge, and I call it the stab in the dark knife. And what it is, it's got a green rubber handle, and the D cell fits inside, and the pommel is a clicky switch. But the flashlight lens is actually, it's like a clear polymer guard on the fixed blade, and so literally it just lights up the blade. So whatever you're looking at, you kind of have to like be pointing the knife at in order to illuminate it.
I call that the one-shot illuminator. You might have a chance.
Well, It's handy because, you know, when you're out in the woods and you want to murder somebody and you want to
Yeah.
be very precise about where you.
And it's hard to hold your light and swing your axe.
Well,
that helps
exactly.
too.
That's why you've got this one knife. And I guess I should say it's like this because, you know, you are holding this giant D-cell thing.
Yeah, you got to stab them scary movie style.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the way that works best.
I
Yeah.
always like that sound. So, do you remember the SOG knives that were made like that? But he had a fillet knife, and the thing that killed me the most was they had normally I'm not saying SOG didn't have any blades that I never liked, but they made this one. I think it was a blue handle with a recurved flat ground on it. I love that look of that blade, but yet the pommel had 3 lights or some little LEDs on each side. So you could see what you were doing. And I thought to myself, my God, if they only put this blade on a really nice handle, this would be a hell of a knife. So I've got both of them somewhere. And now that we mentioned it, I bet you I forgot to take the batteries out of them and they're going to be rotted inside. Mine was a screwdriver. For the longest time, I got a rule. Because I like to carry a screwdriver on me because they're so useful. The bits that go in a Leatherman are okay, but they're proprietary and you got to carry this heavy Leatherman with them. So if you just need a screwdriver, I never get a screwdriver, a multi-bit screwdriver, that the bits aren't on board. And so the next thing after you get one with the bits on board is size. And for the longest time, I kept on driving in my mind, can I design one? Because I use one. I should be able to get around it. And just around the time that I kind of was thinking out in my head, somebody came out with a design that was exactly what I liked and topped it. And I think I showed it on here. It's the Jorgensen's. So you've got multiple bits in the handle. They slide up. If I remember correctly, I think the Jorgensen ratchets. But to top it off for quick spinning, the butt of the handle spins. And if you need torque, you can pull it out, turn it sideways, make a pistol grip. Man, right. My goal in life, I felt like that scene off of Throw Mama from the Train when
classic movie.
Yeah, Billy. What was Billy's last name?
Billy Crystal.
Crystal. He's struggling. He's got a writer's block, and he's looking for a word to describe a hot night, and he can't moist. He's going moist, wet because it's humid out, and that's what he's trying to describe. And then Danny DeVito's grandmother goes sultry. Now he was having a hard time throwing her from the train before. Now he literally wants to rip her out of her seat and chuck her ass off the train. But I wasn't bitter. I was like, I just felt like my life's goal was taken from me. So that and climbing K2. I've still got K2 left. I might make it up there someday.
I can't even climb my stairs.
I have too many bolts in my anatomy to think about something like K2 nowadays. But I was actually thinking about a new adventure the other day. My camp is about 200 kilometers away. It's about 120 miles, Inky. And I'm thinking about biking it.
All the way?
Yeah.
What does your ankle think about?
That's what I'm thinking about, biking it and not climbing.
You're definitely going down the stairs.
Can I ask you a question? Does Megan have life insurance on you? Just curious.
No, I have lots of life insurance on me. Don't worry.
Jeez. But I want to get in on that. No, you can't do. I forbid you.
Well, it only pays out if I'm dead, which is no good to me because I'll be dead.
That's what I get the hint. So
yeah. I want in on that, man.
What, the life insurance or the
now it was $1 million policy. Yeah. I'll pay $500 a month for a year.
I was raised a staunch Catholic, and we have a high value on life, Inky. At least $20,000 to start.
Yeah, ours is $10,000. You can almost pay for the funeral amount.
I'm only worth about 400,000 dead right now.
Only.
It's up to you guys if you consider that worthwhile.
Abe, you'll
see me sitting there with a air rifle sniping out a tire as he's going down a hill,
hitting him through the glass. Hey, my gosh.
Okay, so what's our next?
Let's see here.
People actually left these questions, or did you fucking make this shit up?
No, I got these questions.
I can't imagine anybody really having questions for us.
What's the most overrated piece of EDC gear you've ever tested, and why?
The bottle opener.
Yeah, those bottle openers. Fuck that. I mean, it's
on everything. Yeah. My shoes came in one last week. I bought sneakers that had a freaking bottle opener on it.
Yeah, I had a pair of shoes where they were on the end of the laces. so I could double
Nice.
open.
I actually have a belt buckle with a bottle opener on it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That is one of the biggest criticisms I lay down in an article half the time. And some of my readers probably catch it, some of them don't. And I'm like, oh, and surprise, there's a bottle opener. Yeah, I don't get that bottle opener. I mean, for fuck's.
It's funny that you're complaining about that because I remember one of the first articles I ever read with your name on it was something like 5 keychain tools or something like that. And there was, I think a Kershaw toucan was in there. And I don't remember what else, but I remember you like trying the bottle openers on each one of them, or at least writing about how you tried the bottle openers on each one of them. So,
Hey, you got to try them. All right.
You gotta try. Yeah, but you know what it is too, is you're putting that effort in to try the bottle openers, and there's something called a twist off nowadays. So I remember you can always tell a beer drinker from a non-beer drinker sometimes, because I was going through airport security in Canada, and the security said, "What's this?" And they looked at my shard on my keychain, and I said, "It's a bottle opener. Microbreweries, all microbreweries don't have twist offs." And she looked at me like, because that's a totally acceptable excuse in Canada. You're carrying something to
Yeah.
open a beer. They don't care. You could
Well,
have an
yeah.
assault rifle as long as you're telling them you're carrying it to open a beer. They'll let you on the plane with the son of a bitch.
Yeah.
well, I actually I'm a big fan of having bottle openers. I worked the door in many bars over the years, and you can always tell the bartenders, the ones that have been around for a while, because they all have a massive scar going down the middle of their hands where they grabbed a twist off for somebody, went to twist the bottle off, and for whatever reason, it was that bottle, that cap that didn't twist off, and it just ripped the shit out of the palm of their hand. So some of them have had to have surgery to, reattach their tendons and stuff. So that's why I don't trust twist off caps. Because every now and again you get one that just won't twist off.
Well,
so if you're in the habit of grabbing a bottle opener and popping that bottle, properly, then you never have to worry about that.
Yeah. When I bartended, we had the old style ones. You put it in your belt loop, you pull it out and pop it. But I'm not against bottle openers, but for God's sakes, yeah, everything. Like half my keychain's a bottle opener. I've got one on my Swiss Army knife. I've got one in the shard. I think I've got it on something else. And now, oh, by the way, that Gerber tool that we talked about, since I've had it, I've opened up paint. It's convenient. I'm actually going to probably take the shard off my keychain, because that new one with the clip on it, yeah, that
the Shard XL.
XL. I've opened up paint cans with it. The other day, some guy had a problem. He couldn't pop open a box. I said, hold on. And he goes, well, I'll just use my knife. I said, no, don't do that. And I handed him that. And he was like, hey, that's kind of cool. I said, yeah. And it's got a bottle. So
I got to say, I still find this too big, too bulky, and not enough features.
Yeah, it's got one less feature than the Shard for me. But at the same time, it's the convenience. It's like your one-handed opener. When I'm opening up paint cans or primers, I'm not like, I like the Shard. Don't get me wrong, I like the Shard. It's a great tool as like kind of deep reserve. But if you look at my keychain, I've held it up. It's so obese, that keychain. To manipulate the Shard, it's a bitch. So in the last couple of weeks, I've kind of really liked the convenience of it. So it's kind of found a steady spot in my pocket because of that clip. If it wasn't for the clip, I don't think I'd carry it, because it'd be sitting at the bottom of my pocket and it'd be a pain in the ass to get a hold of.
Do you have a Gerber mullet? Because it's actually got kind of a clip integrated into its body, and it's no larger than the Shard. And I'm actually really loving the Gerber mullet.
I don't
a
have
lot
a
of people
mullet
down
yet.
here have mullets.
Yeah.
Where I
Well,
live.
our hockey players used to have mullets when we were growing up.
I used to have a mullet years ago.
I had a semi mullet.
That's on my wish list, the mullet. Right? I've got it in my save for later box on Amazon. But do you know what that reminds me of too? You guys would remember
There's
the name
the
of
Gerber
them.
mullet there.
Yeah.
Why is that key ring in that spot? I always wondered.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
The idea is this is your pocket clip. So you hang that on your pocket, and your keys are dangling down inside your pocket.
Okay.
Yeah. But do you
What
hang
about
it
if
like
you
that?
do, like, if your wife shakes you upside down to get your change out?
Yeah.
Does that fall out with it?
If your wife does that to you, I want season tickets to that show.
Do you carry?
For those who don't know, Inky's wife is probably about 5'0" and about 110 pounds. And Inky's over 6 feet, and we won't discuss the poundage. And I would very, very, very much like to see that.
Yeah. So I got a question. Do you carry yours like that?
No,
Okay.
I haven't. usually in my my little Maxpedition bag
Okay.
that sits in the truck.
Because what would make me wonder about that particular style is, do you remember the Ken Onion swayback jack or swayback, a knife from CRKT?
Was it
Yes.
a square back?
Yeah, he did a swayback jack style knife. Really nice knife. Great knife. The
Yeah.
only problem I got with it is the freaking pocket clip, because the pocket clip was on the end like that. Instead of this,
Yeah, it's
he
on the
had the
side.
pocket clip
It's on
here.
the spine.
Yeah.
And so what happened was when you hooked it on your pocket, instead of
It's
riding
turned.
sideways in your pocket like this all the time, it
Mhm.
flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering,
Always uncomfortable.
so at first, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but at first, look at the mullet. Now, the other thing I'm going to ask you, because you'll remember these, I forget the names of them, but remember when Leatherman put out a series of larger tools like the mullet with the little 1/4 inch part in it and stuff like that?
Yep.
Those came in sheaths, but I think technically some of them had gaps where you could have hung them from. One of them even had a ceramic sharpener in it. Remember that?
You're thinking about I think it was called the By the Numbers series, and there were like the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, and the number 4, and so on.
Mm.
I think there
Yeah.
was 8 or 9 of them. I think there was, if I'm remembering correctly.
I don't have 8 or 9 of them. I had I think at the time they're so in comparison to, I don't have my my shard with me or anything like that, but in comparison to the shard, they were large. And
You
they came
might
with their
be
own sheath.
thinking about the Piranha series, which was originally produced by a company called Pocket Tool X, and then Leatherman bought Pocket Tool X and started to produce some of their stuff under their own brand, and then I think they just dried up as well.
Yeah, it didn't last very long, but I've got the
I'm not-
original 3. I think there's 3 or 4 models, and they came in a very flat nylon ballistic sheath, which I thought that was same argument. The same argument about, is it worth the space, and especially to put a sheath on the outside of your pocket, and it wasn't worth putting in your pocket. And I think if you tried to hook it in your pocket, you had spots like that, because that on the mullet, if you put that back up, you'll see where the 1/4 inch bit goes in. How you keep tension on a 1/4 inch bit is you collapse the pocket clip, which puts spring pressure on the 1/4 inch bit. And I think these had something like that as well. If I find them, I'll dig through my collection. If I find them, we'll bring them out and show them.
Yeah, so here is the mullet again. Yeah. So I never really had a problem with this one going sort of sideways in my pocket, but then I don't usually carry it like this.
Yeah, that's why I
I
asked.
actually got rid of this keychain on mine.
Yeah. So the listeners, please open up a browser and find them out, mullet, because as a writer, I couldn't even write how to describe that thing, what it looks like.
So usually I just have it tucked in here into this pocket. And then, of course, the pocket, as you can see, is quite tight. So it just holds it flat anyway. Currently, I've got this is one that comes with the O Knife UK1 or whatever the hell it's called.
Mine, I
I
carry.
carry the next size bigger one, and I keep my beard comb in that pocket.
Well, that's a good
Yeah.
pocket to keep that in, I'd say.
It's great.
So we had a topic, and we completely
just-
avoided it, as we often do. So I guess we're going to have to possibly revisit that one next week, because we seem to be running out of time for this week.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We did answer those viewer questions. Thank you for sending them in. I really didn't think we had been around long enough to get viewer questions. Somehow I had viewer questions associated with being around a long time. I don't know why.
Well, we have been around for a bit. This is, in fact, episode 25 of EDC TV. So congratulations, guys, for sticking around for 25 episodes.
That's awesome.
Anyways, so yeah, that's going to bring us to the end of yet another episode.
Stay tuned, because next week we'll do another episode with a topic that we won't cover.
Yeah, what was the topic today?
Bags.
What's in your purse?
Yeah, what's in your purse?
I love a good purse.
So that does us for another week, gentlemen. Thank you for...
Whose phone is that?
That's
That's
Inky.
my house phone.
Inky's so old, he has a house phone.
My nephew called me the other day, and he goes, "What are you doing out?" He called me on FaceTime. He goes, "What's it, 76? 77? What year is this?" I talked to him like 2 years. He gets right on me.
So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
thank you for joining us again this week. I hope you had as much fun as we did. We might actually try to make it to the actual topic we were supposed to talk about next week. In the meantime, feel free to drop in on us at the forum at forum.multitool.org. See what we're up to. Check out SacWiki if you have any Swiss Army knife questions. Feel free to follow us and give us a like on whatever platform that you're on. We really appreciate all of it. And just remember, do not take checks from Abe. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, everybody. Have a great week.